Yeah, man, it's June the 3rd, 2023, and in this video, I'm going to talk about gang stalking and programming. This is going to be a little different than what I usually talk about, and this is more on the theoretical side, just based on my personal experience and what I believe is happening in a lot of cases with gang stalking. So, if you don't know about gang stalking and remote neural monitoring and artificial telepathy, broadcast, mind control, and all of those things, then you probably want to get up to speed on some of that before you find out what I'm talking about in this video. So I'll start out by saying that a lot of this stuff has to do with programming and mind control, and it gets kind of shaky when you start talking about those things because there's so many different ways to look at it and there's so many different things going on. And if you talk to a lot of people, they would tell you that it's AI. You know, they've got you hooked to some system, the chatterbots, weird stuff like that. And from personal experience, I can tell you that, at least for me, that it's people that I'm dealing with every day, all the time. It's people. They're on mind control, meaning they wear something on their head that allows them to receive in a comprehensive way. When I say receive, that could be like connected to me to receive my neurological processes. Now, how is that done? So this is a satellite broadcast technology, and you have a neurological frequency. And with your neurological frequency, you know, they don't just put on the thing, you know, the mind control. They call it a mind control. They don't just put on the mind control and then receive you directly. That's not how it works. So everybody's on remote neural monitoring, and we're all received by a satellite broadcast computer system. And from there, they have the connections and the settings, the perimeters are set to a way that allows that broadcast to come to them. So it's humans receiving humans with a computer satellite broadcast system in the middle. Okay, and that's where the capabilities start to get kind of scattered, because it could just be raw, straight up, just basically a technology that could receive and broadcast back out to them and stuff like that. So when you have remote neural monitoring, you have basically this neurological broadcast computer system, and you have a profile on here where it's just like your neurological broadcast profile. This is your neural monitoring. This is what you want. This is what you're after. This is what gang stalkers have. They have access to neural monitoring, meaning they can get onto their own neural monitoring on a computer and control settings. And when I talk about programming, okay, there's a lot of things that I believe they have the capability to do, and I believe that they have the capability to do it because of my personal experience. For example, if I were to think something, okay, then they could have that decoded programming, okay, in the system. When that happens, when I initiate that script from my mind, it triggers another thing. Okay, so and I notice this a lot because they'll try to make it appear as if you're thinking something, because when you receive something, and it makes it seem like you're thinking that thing, because that's what receiving mind control. So when they receive you, if you think, oh, wow, they're stressing me out, you know, my beard's starting to turn gray, right? They receive that. They're like, this MFer's beard's turning gray because we're stressing him out. Ha 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 ha. And they receive that. I don't have to say it out loud. They can receive that in a comprehensive way, and they know exactly what I'm thinking. They know that I thought, okay, my beard's going to turn gray, and the reason I think is because they're stressing me out all the time, or they're broadcast attacking my face, and they get exactly that. They get exactly that. Okay, but in their neural monitoring, when they receive that, it's like they thought it themselves. So there's programmatically, okay, within scripting, there's no difference from an originating thought to a thought that you're receiving. Okay, now maybe on the neural monitoring, there's something that shows the direction of the flow. Like, was this a received thought? I'm sure that's on the neural monitoring. Was this received or was this originated? But if you're connected with somebody else and you receive something, then to somebody else that's connected to you, it could appear as if you thought that thing. And so it starts to be this scatterment of thought processes, and the hive mind is born. So you have multiple people. So if I'm connected to Bob right here, and I got my mind control thing on, and I'm gang stalking Bob, all right, and Bob thinks something, and I receive that, but I'm also connected to Sally, all right, and then she knows what I just thought, but does she know that I received it from Bob, or does she think that it's originally thought in my own mind? So these are the types of things that the interface on neural monitoring might be able to show you if you have control and access to it. But in the meantime, when a gang stalker is hosting a live stream and they have control over your neural monitoring, and so what they'll do a lot of times is they'll think something, or they'll have a trigger set up. And when I say a trigger, I mean something that's triggered from something else. Okay, so if I was to think, oh, they're making my beard turn gray, then there would be some script, okay, in the system on my neural monitoring that they have programmed to come back to me as something that I'm receiving, a neurological process. Okay, so I could think, oh, my beard's turning gray, and they could have something programmed in there that hits me that says, oh, because you're an old man. Well, I'm not an old man, but they could program it that way. For an example, okay, I'm giving you examples. They could program it to that way. So what they'll do is over time, they'll create all of these little instances and all of these little programs and triggers and different things. And you start to have to navigate through this ridiculous entanglement of processes that are coming from your mind and that are hitting your mind, that you're receiving, and all of this stuff that's programmed on the neural monitoring. And typically, if somebody has your neural monitoring and they're doing the gang stalking, they'll be on your neural monitoring for years and years and years, and until you get it, or until somebody takes it from them, or until they sell it to the next person or whatever. They can control who has full access and what each person that has access has the capabilities to be able to do, the type of connections they can have, if they can use broadcast, their hologram broadcast, to physically attack and torture you. What are they allowed to receive? So you might have one or a couple of gang stalkers that have a full access. All right, and then they host live streams, and they allow a bunch of other people to come on to basically be a part of gang stalking, or to be a part of their show, their broadcast show. And then they could set up each perimeter of what's this person allowed to do, and what's this person allowed to do, and what's this person allowed to do. And I've seen that in real time, where one gang stalker, that has control, might turn off one of their clients, basically, that is doing too much or doing something that they don't want to have them doing right now, or what. And basically, if you have your own neural monitoring, you will be able to turn off all of them, anybody to be connected to you in any way, if that's what you want. If you don't want to be connected, and I don't, if you don't want to be connected to anybody, because it's non-consensual at this point. But if you have your neural monitoring like they do, then you can go in and create the different connections, and you can say, oh, okay, I want this person, to be connected with me on this neurological level and have these parameters that they can and can't do. And you can set up neural monitoring in that way. And you can also set up all of these different triggers and perimeters and different things. You could set up things to remind you of things. You could set up automated processes just by neurological triggers and thoughts, and you could use it for a great advantage to set up a lot of things like that. But what they'll do is that just for the show purpose, for the purpose of their live stream and the show that they're putting on for all of the clients, the other gang stalkers that they're allowing to have a more limited connection than they have, just to be part of the whole live stream broadcast experience with a particular targeted person. So they can set up all these different things to cause triggers and do this and do that. And it doesn't mean that it's AI. It doesn't mean that it's a chatterbot. It means that they have the capabilities to do that, and they build upon that. Okay, if you're building a website which has different little scripts and different type of coding and connections and different things, over time you build it into, you can make changes and you can do all of this different stuff. And something's happened with my headphones. I always wonder if they're like trying to shut down my audio because I'm making a video because of things they don't want me talking about. But when they spend time, years, and I say years because I've been dealing with the same group for a decade. And when I say years, I mean it. 10 years is what I've been dealing with them. And they've built their programs basically about how they want the neural monitoring to interact with me and them, and how it's all like different triggers and different little things. And it's a mind game, and they literally play these type of games with your actual mind. Okay, and for that, I think they deserve death. I think they deserve death by capital punishment legally. I think they deserve death for broadcast torture, capital punishment for broadcast torture, all legally. That's what I think. Will it happen? Probably not. But I think people do need to understand how serious it is. Okay, and I can only imagine for somebody that doesn't have a strong mind or isn't very intelligent, that how much effect that kind of thing could start to have on your psychological well-being. It's difficult, at least, or it's difficult in the beginning, no matter what, no matter how strong-minded or how intelligent you are, just to come to the realization that people are able to know exactly what you think. The ultimate violation of your privacy. They can know every thought you have. They can see you in the shower. They can see you naked. They can see you. They can physically attack you. They can do horrible types of sexual assaults to you, all with broadcast. All with broadcast. They can broadcast anything they want to your mind. And typically it's just them. It's just them and the few little triggers and perimeters that they'll set up to try to make things more difficult for you, all for their show. But that's what they do. And another thing is people talk about, well, it's got to be AI or chatterbots because they do this 24/7, and nobody can do this 24/7, but they can. They can do this 24/7 because they don't have to be awake. They don't have to be alert. They can be asleep. They can be asleep. They can just be laying there like they don't do very much. They don't leave the house. They don't hardly ever get off mind control. When you have the full-fledged gang stalkers, they prefer life as broadcast. They prefer life as mind control broadcast where they're living as a broadcast to be other places and to connect to other people. And they prefer that over their physical life experiences. So they don't leave the house. They don't do anything other than sit around on mind control all the time, like 100% of the time. If they even get off to take a shower, it's rare, okay? And they can do it while they're asleep. And when they're asleep, obviously they don't act like an alert, awakened person. They act more like a subconscious dreaming person. So it can get very bizarre and get very abusive when you're dealing with them. And if it is starting to get very abusive and very bizarre, it's very possible that they might be asleep while they're on broadcast, while they're interacting with you. And you could be interacting with a person that's in somewhat of a dream state. And this is how they're able to do this 24/7. But I want to make people aware of the possibilities, okay? And I believe all of this that I'm telling you now. I know a lot of it is absolutely how it works. But as far as the programmatic details of what they can do, can they program something that every time I think the sky is blue, something happens or some sort of process hits me or something like that? Yes, I believe that they can. And that is a theoretical belief that just based on my personal experience, I know most of the stuff that I'm telling you about on this channel about how they do gang stalking, how it works, how they access all this stuff online, how they can make these connections and do the live streams and allow other people on, and how the mind control works, how they can broadcast as holograms and like live as that, like kind of like virtual reality, except for it is reality. So it's broadcast reality. I know all of those things are the truth. The programmatic details are the things that I theorize about just based on my personal experiences, and not based on something that happened one time, based on something that happens consistently. And then as it happens consistently, there starts to be times where you fully understand that was not your thought. That was not something that you thought. That's, you don't think of some weird thing every time you think of something else. And it's in actual human thought processes, it would be like it would be like a neurological anchor, or like something like that, where you think of one thing and it causes you to think of another thing, and you can actually use those type of things to help you remember stuff and stuff like that. But when they do it, it gets tricky, because you can think, why every time I think of this, then this thought pops into my mind. And then at some point, some way that it happens makes it very obvious to you that it's a programmatical thing. And that's something that I've had to deal with them. I'd like to go in and just delete all of their programming and see what it's like to think freely, to think freely without the pollution. That's like my dream, is to get my own neural monitoring, delete these idiots, and have possession and control of all of my own parameters and history, because your history is going to be on the neural monitoring too. And they don't want you to have it. If they've been gang stalking you, they're going to try to never let you have it. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why they stay for years and years and decades, because especially in my situation where I know what I'm looking for, and I know what exists and what's possible, and I know kind of the pathway. So it's like their biggest thing. They have to stay. They're trapped in this as much as I am, because they can't just go on about their life and carry on some other, targeting somebody else or just doing whatever they want. Because if I were to get the neural monitoring and find out, or be able to have all of the things that they've ever done to me. So they have to guard that. But I think ultimately it's because they don't want to leave. They're addicted to mind control. They love the way that I think. They've taken a personal vendetta at this point to try to suppress me. And I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. And I think that over time I'm going to win. I'm very confident in that now. There was a time when I felt very hopeless. But when you start to learn a lot and you understand how it works and you know which direction you need to head in, then it becomes a lot more probable in your mind that, yeah, I can solve this. And I know a lot of you guys think that, oh, this is forever. I'll never get out of this. The program, that's what a lot of people say. It's like some program, that the government puts you in for this or that reason. And it's not. It's not. If somebody wanted to give you neural monitoring, show you how to get on there and use it and everything, they could do that today. They could do that, and it's not because you're in some program. It's because some person that had neural monitoring already that probably knew you and decided they wanted to obtain yours, whether they took it or bought it or however. I think they buy it. I think they buy neural monitorings from each other, and like human trafficking. It's like slavery. Like, let me buy your neural monitoring. I think that's how it goes. But I think that we can get it. I think that we can get our own neural monitoring, and I think that they're going to try to stop us because they've been engaging in doing horrible things to us for a long time. But computer programming and anything to do with computer systems and internet is what you need to be learning. And even if you go to college for it, to give you the structure, and it takes a while and it's a long process. Studied on your own as well. But over the course of 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, maybe 2 or 3 years, you can actually solve the problems that you have. Learn about light spectrums and waves and anything to do with electromagnetics and stuff like that. That's another pathway. All kinds of photography, looking into things like the space telescopes and how they use infrared and different technologies to be able to see light that's out of the visible spectrum. Things like that can help you to be able to see broadcasts and all the advertisements and little hologram people and stuff everywhere from these gang stalkers. So it's all good pathways to learn about, and it's going to help you if you take the time to do that. And yeah, it's a process. Yeah, it could take 5 years. It could take 10 years. But you want to do that and be very successful and have everything that you ever wanted in life? Or do you want to sit there and be the victim that they eventually destroy, over the course of 10, 20, 30, 40 years? How long can you suffer? So start today. Start today and start making progress. And that's, I started a long time ago. But the absolute certain pathway to be able to defeat them and to gain the knowledge, I haven't been on it that long. Maybe I would say overall I've probably spent maybe 2 or 3 years actually grinding out on the correct pathway. And out of all these years that I've known about it, they've been doing this to me for about 10 years, but I actually knew what was going on for probably about 7 years, and maybe 7 to 8 years, because 15 and 16 was when I was really starting to understand a lot of it and know pretty well what was going on. By 16, I pretty much knew about gang stalking and how it all worked with them, and I knew a bunch of them. And by 17, I kind of started to know the pathway, and I kind of dabbled a little bit in web development and trying to figure out and I know basically how to use a computer on a user level, of course. I would say that I'm very good or even expert on a user level with computers. That doesn't matter. We're talking about like all the Microsoft Office stuff, the music production programs, video editing programs, internet in general, some basic coding, and any kind of basic settings and perimeters, and the hardware I know about pretty well. all of that stuff. And uh, within maybe 2 years ago, I started actually going to college and actually taking it serious. And I felt like I needed to do that for the structure, because for me, it's very difficult. My headphones just popped back on again. I have no idea why this is happening, but for the structure, because I have a hard time um, staying on course with something that's like my own little project, and I tend to get sidetracked. So I feel like, having to do the work through organized platform like college to force me to have the structure to keep the grades and actually learn everything. It's actually helping me a lot to make advancements, and it's a slow process, But I think in a couple of years, I'll know way too much. They won't be able to continue to gang stalk me. There will be way too much information coming out of this channel about the actual ways that they operate and the things that they're doing with our computer systems and the internet in general. So it's going to be a big, huge problem for them. And I'd like for it to be a big, huge problem for all the gang stalkers, because 1,000 of you guys start taking the same pathway. But anyway, that's all for now. I hope this information helps you guys, at least to kind of get your mind wondering. So hit me in the comments. Any questions, I try to get around to it. Otherwise, have a good day. Thanks for watching.